When I carry these statistics from Washington around the country, I see the human face. I see the human face of children in central area of Hartford, Connecticut, the insurance capital of the world, with all these gleaming office buildings for Aetna and all the rest of them. And then I see ministers in churches tell me, with the children a little bit in the corner, shy, 40% asthma rate. Children whose brains are being damaged by lead-based paint, peeling off crumbling tenement walls. And when these little children grow up and then go to first grade, and second, third grade, and the teacher calls mommy and daddy and says, I'm sorry, your little child has a learning disability? Yeah, some learning disability. Brain damage from lead, driven into the paint years ago by a corrupt criminal lead industry that knew the damage, knew what was going to happen. They put it in our gasoline. They knew they wanted to do it because they wanted to make more money. And for 90 years, they have been doing this to the rest of the world, and it's time to bring them to the criminal justice system. The main public housing project in America now is not affordable housing for millions of working poor, people who can't pay 70% of their income for rent. People are going into the streets homeless even though they've got a job, and homelessness is up 200,000 more even officially from 2 years ago in this booming economy of ours. You know what the major public housing project in this country is? It's building prison cells in corporate prisons. Isn't it time to have a political party that shuns the rhetoric and replaces it with reality? Isn't it time that all these citizen groups in the neighborhoods who are fighting to eradicate poverty and its pernicious consequences and the racism that it reflects, isn't it time for a major political party to stand side by side fighting for these valiant people? I think it's time for a new progressive political movement, for a new Green Party that stands tall on the following issues, which are all being advanced. However, they may be advanced up against the powers that be and the business lobbies. There are just thousands of little citizen groups around the country trying to advance environmental health, fight environmental racism, and these groups are fighting for health and safety. They're fighting for preservation of their air, water, soil, and food. They're fighting to shift this country from coal, oil, gas, and nuclear power into an era of solar energy, wind power, photovoltaics, solar thermal, biomass. All of which is ready to go. It's ready to go, but it's the people's energy. That's why it's being blocked. It's not being blocked for economic or technological reasons. It's being blocked because corporations want to control our energy supply, and they can't control the sun. They can't eclipse the sun. They can't buy the sun. It's ours. Isn't it time that they're an emergent Green Party that stands next to all those people that are trying to expand recycling of solid waste instead of putting it in incinerators so it produces toxics and dioxin into your lungs? Barry Commoner, the great environmentalist from Queens College, demonstrated in one project in the New York City area, 86% recycling rate. It can be done, but the incinerator industry wants more solid waste for its voracious appetite. And that's got a big lobby, unlike the recycling industry. You know that situation I described in Hartford with the asthma? You know what also is in Hartford, the greater Hartford area? 5 incinerators, and they're not in the shrubbered suburbs. They're where poor people, where people of color live. There are environmental groups also that are challenging the out-of-control biotechnology industry that is determined to change the nature of nature. And to transfer, through genetic engineering, the genetic inheritance of the world into 20-year monopoly patents held by Monsanto and Novartis and all these other companies that want to create a huge dependency of our farmers on the switches, the chemical switches, the Terminator seeds, the traitor technologies as they're called. And this is an industry whose technology is way ahead of the science. It must be its governing discipline. An industry that's out of control. An industry that has too much power in Washington. An industry that has brought Clinton and Gore to their knees in surrendering any regulatory framework worthy of the name to put the brakes on this industry. Think of the groups all over the country who don't have a political party side by side marching forward, who are fighting the ravaging effects of the criminal injustice system, the failed war on drugs, the corporate prisoners, the racial profiling, all of these that are going on around the country. And you get the rhetoric from the Republicans and the Democrats. Where is their political muscle? Where is their political support for equal rights under the law, equally enforced, not discriminatorily enforced? Instead, Gore and Bush, they're both for the death penalty. They're both for cracking down on street crime, but ignoring corporate crime, which takes far more lives, far more injury, and far more disease. No. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that, all right. Let me pledge to you. I'll say one thing to you. If I was on those 3 debates, this election would be a lot different indeed. And I pledge to you this evening before the largest political rally in the entire year in this presidential campaign, I'll pledge to you that never again will this crooked company called the Debate Commission, run by the Republican Democratic Party and funded by beer, tobacco, and auto money, never again will they hold the key to the gateway to tens of millions of American voters.